I, 46 female, am marrying my fiancé, 50 male. He has a daughter, Davina, 18 female, from his previous marriage. I don't have any children, nor do I want any. I've been with him for 11 years now. Davina and I are close. I love her like a daughter. My sister, 45 female, has a daughter, Jess, 18 female. Now, it should be noted that Davina is an only child. She doesn't have any step or half siblings on her mother's side as well. This will be important later. Davina and Jess used to be friends. They go to the same school. But when they got to high school, they grew apart. Davina became popular. She made a lot of friends. Jess is introverted. She didn't like being in the crowd, so she just stopped associating with her. She started making up excuses when Davina would ask her to hang out, just the two of them. My sister is a single mom. I would sometimes help her with Jess when she was little. She would come over to my place at times before she got into high school. But ever since she started avoiding Davina, she doesn't come over unless necessary. I've spoken to both Jess and Davina multiple times, and both have confirmed there is no aggression. When I got engaged, Jess asked me if she could have a part in the wedding. I said sure. Now I have asked Davina to be maid of honor and Jess to be a bridesmaid. Jess wasn't happy Davina was getting a more important role. Jess asked me to not give Davina a role at all, that she should be a regular guest. I said no. Sister called me and asked the same thing. I said no to her as well. When I asked them why, their reply was literally, I don't like her. A few weeks ago, Dee and I ran into them at the mall. Davina was attempting to make small talk with Jess, but she just snapped at her. When Davina said, sorry, I didn't know you were in a bad mood. My sister snapped at me about how Davina is being spoiled as an only child, how she abandoned Jess once she got her flashy friends, how I am enabling Davina to let Jess continue to live in Davina's shadow, about how fake I am when I speak to Dee's mom when I meet her at school games. She said this was harming Jess's mental health. At this point, Davina excused herself and called her mom to pick her up. Sis said if I continue having a relationship with Davina, she and Jess will no longer want a relationship with me. When I reminded her that she would be my stepdaughter soon, she said she wants me to be civil with her and not trying to be her second mom. She said it was time I returned to our family instead of a random teenager. I said she and Jess were my family, but I also chose Davina to be my family when I chose to be with my fiancé. Jess started crying, people started staring, so we just left. I don't know what Sis told everyone, but now a lot of family members have blocked me. My parents and fiancé are on my side, but Davina has started spending more time at her mom's. Have I been unknowingly cruel to Jess? Should I take some time to just focus on Jess? Am I the a-hole? Edit. Spoke to mom who spoke to Sis. We'll be meeting Sis after work. Not the a-hole. You are 100% doing the right thing by your husband and soon-to-be stepdaughter. I commend your actions. Your sister is obviously not getting the truth from Jess. I mean, did she seriously think you wouldn't have your stepdaughter be involved in her own father's wedding? Sit your sister down without Jess and find out if she knows the whole story. Oh, cripes, what a mess. First, you are not the a-hole. I think your sister and niece are being jealous and severely overreacting, especially considering that you are doing 100% the right thing by Davina and your fiancé. You are correct in saying that you have chosen this family for yourself, and by treating your future stepdaughter as your own is both beautiful and healthy. I do think, though, that you need to sit down with your sister and speak honestly about why they are so resentful of your life and family. Ask her why she thinks she and her daughter should be prioritized. You might get some surprising insight into their emotional states. I will add that their mental states are not your responsibility, but you should at least find out if they are willing to see your side. If they don't meet with you halfway, then you have your answer. But for your own sanity, reach out. Not the a-hole. You will be married to Davina's father, and you will be her stepmother. You have to put her first. Jess isn't your child. But something is going on. Your sister and Jess haven't told you everything. I would have a talk with your sister and find out exactly why. Tell her you can't possibly agree to something so asinine unless you know why. And this is a big thing she is expecting of you. And if she can't come clean with you, no contact. Hating someone because they're popular is the same as hating someone because they're not. Update. I spoke to my sister 2 days ago. Apparently the issue between the girls was a boy. Yes, a boy. Jess liked him during freshman year, but he didn't like her back. Junior year, he starts going out with Davina, and they are still together. Jess asked Dee to break up with him without giving her a reason to do so, and got upset when she didn't. Seeing Jess upset, sister also asked Davina to break up with him one day after showing up where Davina works. Yes, she cornered a kid during her work. Davina laughed in her face and said no. Other than that, she herself admitted Dee had done nothing to them. And those of you who said she wanted money, you were also right. My sister and Jess were under the impression that I would offer to pay for Jess's college. I was surprised, and when I asked why, her response was, "Because we are family and you are helping with a random person's college." I'm only paying for Davina's books. My fiancé and Dee's mom are paying for everything else because she is not eligible for scholarships because parents have a higher income. At this point, I was angry, and I told her I would have offered to pay for Jess's books as well, but now I'm not giving her a penny. Sis looked horrified, but I left before she could say anything. Later, someone added me to a group chat with family members who had earlier blocked me. They said I had strayed from family and I should come back to them, that I can make it up to them by fully paying for Jess and her brother's college. I left the chat and blocked them all. Won't be talking to them anytime soon. Earlier today, I spoke to Dee's mom. She agreed to let me pick her up from work. I spoke to Dee, took her to dinner, explained everything. She was happy. Apparently, sister had told Jess she was meeting me, and Jess cornered her at school and told her I wouldn't want her in my life anymore. Davina was relieved to know it wasn't happening. She will be coming here tomorrow. New account for privacy purposes. My husband and I are in our 30s. We have been married 10 years and have twin sons together. My husband also has a daughter, 20. He doesn't speak to his daughter's mother anymore, and she hasn't been in either of their lives for a very long time. I helped raise my stepdaughter, and I love her, but she was an only child for a very long time, and my husband gave her the princess treatment. She had a tendency to act very spoiled when she was younger, but mostly grew out of that after moving out at 18. My husband and I both have well-paying, full-time jobs, but I've been the primary breadwinner for the majority of our relationship. I also have a sizable inheritance from my grandfather, which we used to buy our home, pay for our son's daycare, etc. Last April, my stepdaughter got engaged. My husband and I were both very happy for them, and for our wedding gift, we offered to help finance her wedding plans. They were supposed to get married this August, but the chosen venue told us they'd either have to reschedule to next year or change their guest list to less than 50, and that everyone would have to wear masks. The original wedding has 200 guests. Stepdaughter asked if my husband and I could pay for a different venue she found that would be available in October. I already paid a very large non-refundable deposit for the original venue, plus extra for open bar services that would be provided. We told her no, she'd have to wait like the other brides who had to postpone for virus. And waiting another year won't be so terrible. Stepdaughter was furious, and apparently very impatient to get married. Without consulting me or my husband first, she canceled the venue, caterer, florist, and photographer, all of which my husband and I paid the deposit on. I was sick of her little tantrum, and told her she'd need to find someone else to help pay for what she wanted, because she wasn't going to get a penny more from me, unless it was for cab fare to go to the courthouse to elope, because that's the wedding she deserved for being ungrateful. She has since called her dad sobbing multiple times, and apologizing and begging for a second chance. I called all the people she canceled, and they were mostly understanding, and a few offered to renew the contract stepdaughter terminated. I said no and have cut my losses on this issue, which my husband disagrees with, and says I'm being too harsh. I told him I would no longer enable stepdaughter's bratty behavior, and if he wanted to pay, he could use his own income. Mine paid for 60% of the wedding costs. Husband thinks I'm being just as hard-headed and unreasonable as stepdaughter. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If she took it upon herself to cancel everything you paid deposits on because she was impatient, she can figure it out herself. You were more than generous here, and it's probably time she learned that her actions have consequences. Not the a-hole. You paid for her wedding once. You shouldn't pay for it a second time. If she's old enough to get married, she's old enough to pay for her own wedding. Not the a-hole. She should have been grateful you were willing to pay for anything at all. A lot of weddings are now paid for by the couple. You paid a lot already, and for her to just expect you to pay all that again, possibly more than before, is ridiculous. She made a choice, and she needs to deal with the consequences. I am sorry you and your hubby aren't on the same page. Spoiling her like that isn't doing her any favors. I'm 26 female, he is 28 male, and his sister is 36 female. Now, I do want to note that I actually really enjoy helping people out in any way I can. It makes me feel accomplished for whatever reason, or like I'm doing a good deed. My sister-in-law took advantage of my kindness and drove it into the ground. So basically, since I married my husband and we moved back to the States, my sister-in-law almost acts like she expects things from me. She doesn't ask us to do anything, but rather calls and tells us what we need to do for her. Her most recent need is for us to take her daughter for a week because she can't handle life after her cat got ran over a month ago. This was after she told me she needed our help paying for an urn for her cat, as well as the cremation. We didn't help her out with that one. Just to put things into perspective here, she has asked me for thousands of dollars within the course of 4 years to pay off her car's back payment, pay taxes, get a new set of tires, groceries, new appliances, etc. She has asked to put things in my name because I have good credit and she does not. She has made me clean her yard for my birthday party that she wanted to throw me, which turned out to be a Father's Day party and not a birthday party, and I happened to be conned into buying all the food. She randomly asks me to watch her kid all the time, despite knowing I work full-time and have kids of my own to worry about. If I tell her no to any of these things, she instantly calls up the rest of the family and says, "I don't know what's going on with Victoria lately. She's been acting really off." Anyways, after she told me to take her kid for a week, I said no. The following day we had to go there to pick up our canoe that was stored in her garage. And she said, "Since I stored this for you, I think you guys owe me." I flipped out. I was already at my breaking point, and hearing her say this ticked me right off. I said, "I don't owe you anything. I have given you thousands of dollars that you have never paid back. I have watched your kid multiple times for free. I have given you rides and paid for your groceries, and what have you given me in return?" That's right, a place to store our canoe. If anything, you owe us. My husband told me to calm down, so I looked at him and said, "Really? Me calm down? Because I'm pissed that people keep using us? Go ahead and keep enabling this behavior and see how quickly it pushes me away." I walked out, got into my car and left. My husband and I have talked about this multiple times, and he has told me to say something to her, but when I do, he tells me to calm down. I've since gotten a text from sister-in-law telling me that I overreacted and offended her, and that my behavior makes her think I'm an a-hole. My husband has apologized to me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I hope your husband groveled nicely. I doubt he was the one impacted by most of the non-financial requests. Cut your sister off, and if she tries to spin stories to the rest of your family, explain clearly the number of times you've helped her and how entitled she was being. Not the a-hole, and you know this. But your husband needs to pull his head out of his sister's butt and put some boundaries in place with his sister and parents. He is, presumably, a grown man with kids of his own. It's time to grow up and stop playing both sides of the fence. He tells you to stand up to his sister behind her back, and when you do, he defends her. Nope, that's not how that works. Not only do you need to put healthy boundaries in place with his family, but also with him. He needs to either support you when you do his job for him, standing up to and establishing boundaries with his family, or you need to send his weak, spineless butt off to live with his sister and niece. I have a daughter, 14, from a previous marriage. My current wife and I met 6 years ago, married for a little less than 2. My daughter is currently staying with us since her mom is recovering from surgery and can't look after her. So, I love my wife, but I'll be the first to admit that she can be aggressive when she feels really insecure or attacked. She's had therapy in recent years to combat this, but the issue reared its ugly head again in the worst way. Anyways, what happened was my daughter and my wife were cooking dinner together. Daughter was making pasta and wife was making the sauce. My wife is dyslexic and it's one of her biggest insecurities, being thought of as dumb growing up. So halfway through cooking, daughter tested the sauce and goes, "Oh my God, you used vinegar instead of wine. It's so sour." Daughter checks the bottle of white wine, and it turns out to be white wine vinegar. Wife then says, "No, that's wine, I checked." Daughter says, "No way, it says vinegar. Can you not read?" I heard the exchange. My daughter was being snarky, but not really mean. Just a joking know-it-all teenager kind of tone. But I know my wife's sore spots, so I tried to defuse, but it was too late. My wife snapped, grabbed the bottle and chucked it into the trash. She then directed her anger at my daughter and said something like, I'm paraphrasing, "Fine, don't eat the pasta. You don't need the extra calories anyways with the kind of weight you're carrying. Your mom ever buy you any mirrors?" I was in shock and yelled my wife's name for her to stop. My wife gives me a, "What? I didn't start it" kind of look. And not long after, we see my daughter come downstairs with a backpack and run out to the street. When I get to her, she's just sobbing and yelling angrily and threatening to run away. She's absolutely refusing to go back inside, so I thought the best course of action is to book a nearby hotel and let them both cool down. It was a split-second decision because I didn't want her roaming the streets in a strange city. Long story short, it's been a day and a half and things are worse. Wife is upset I let my daughter stay elsewhere because she thinks I'm enabling a childish tantrum. Wife is also mad I chose to stay with daughter the first night because I was worried she might do something unhealthy. I'm stressed, and I think I might have done the wrong things, but I'm racking my brain to think what I should have or should be doing instead. I don't want to lose my wife, but I can't stand to see her talk like that to my daughter either. Not the a-hole. Your wife is horrendous. Your daughter is a child who does not deserve to be attacked. And of course you should stay with your child if she's at a hotel. Not the a-hole. But holy crap, does your wife have issues? She really went for the jugular after some light teasing from a teenager. Just out of curiosity, is your wife gainfully employed? How does she coexist with other humans with those kind of issues? You guys need to find new therapists or ask for refunds from her old ones. You should protect your daughter above all else. This is the kind of stuff that gives kids eating disorders. Your wife is a disgrace for attacking a teenager, and you would be a disgrace if you didn't stand up for your own daughter.